Hello, welcome to Cassie's Creations. I'm Cassie. I'm a creator who loves creativity and color and all things handmade. Here you'll find a mix of crochet, yarn crafts, DIY projects, creative inspiration to spark your imagination. Whether you're here to learn, relax, or just enjoy watching ideas come to life, you're in the right place. So grab your favorite project, get comfy, and let's get creating together. Today I have for us a ghost. So since Halloween is just around the corner in just a few days, I am going to show you how I make my little ghosty. So this is what my end product looks like. For you guys, I'm going to do it a little bit different. So I'm going to be using worsted weight yarn. This is just basic red Heart Super Saver yarn. You can get it at Walmart. A lot of beginning starters to crochet will use this kind of yarn. It's very cheap, easy to get your hands on. So I'm going to be using this. So it's going to work up quite a bit smaller than this project, but if you are experienced, go for the blanket yarn. So this is a burnout blanket yarn that I used on this project. But for the purpose of today, so you can see my stitches a little bit better, I'm not going to be using white. And I'm going to be using a worsted weight just so that it works up. It's smaller and it's going to be something that's more manageable for beginners. So with that, you'll need your yarn, obviously your hook. I'm using a 4.5 millimeter. I also am going to have a stitch marker to help us tell where our stitches are, a yarn needle for finishing it off, some scissors, of course, to cut the yarn. And we are also going to be using safety eyes. These are 10 millimeter with the backings. So these are going to be a great size for this. On my bigger ghosty here, I used a bigger size, but since our ghost is going to be turning out a lot smaller, I'm using smaller eyes for this. So if at any point in this video you want to pause, go for it, because you're going to need to, if you're wanting to complete this project, you're going to need to follow along, and there will be a lot of pausing so that you can catch up to where I'm at. So I'll see you then. Alright, so now that we have our supplies together, I am going to start with my yarn and my crochet hook. That's all I need at this point. Alright, so I am going to make a magic ring. The way I do that is I make an X, the little loop here, so it looks like an X, and put my hook through, and I'm going to pull through. So now it kind of looks like a knot. I'm going to chain one off of that, and that is going to start it off. So now from here on out, I'm going to do single crochets all the way around. I'm going to do 8 of them. So it's going to start it. So we have 1, 2, and you just stick your hook through the hole, loop around, pull it through, and we have 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So now that I have my 8 stitches, I'm going to take my tail here and I'm going to pull it to cinch down the middle here so that now there is not a hole in the middle. It's going to make a nice, neat little circle. So now I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to find the 2 that it goes through here, and I'm going to hook it through. Make sure it goes through both loops. Loop around, pull through just the one, and then we have 2. So we are going to be doing increases in each of the 8 in the round. So that was 1. We need to do another one in the same hole I just went through. So I'm going to take my hook, I'm going to push it through again, I'm going to pull the yarn through, loop around, and pull through both loops. That is my first increase. So one thing that a lot of people like to use is a stitch marker. I'm going to show you how to do that. I don't normally use a stitch marker. It's just not something I normally do. But for some people it works really well, and it especially works really well for beginners. So I just did my 1, 2, and this was my first one. So my beginning stitch was right here. So that's going to mark when I'm done with my row. So I need to do so this is my last stitch. So I'll have to take my stitch marker out to do my last stitch, and that'll show me that I am done with the row and I'm going to be starting a new one. So I've done 1 increase. So that makes 1 hole into 2 new stitches. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the next one. So I'm going to put my hook through that, pull through, loop over, pull through both loops. That's 1. I'm going to do 1 more in that same hole so that we can make an increase. Remember, we're turning 1 into 2 to make it bigger. It's going to come out like this instead of going down and making a cylinder shape. There are instances that you might want a cylinder shape, but in this instance, we are trying to make a cute little ghost. We're trying to make it rounded on top, so we are going to go out instead of down for right now. So our next hole, we're going to go through, pull through, loop around, pull through, and we're going to do that 1 more time in that hole. So I'm chugging right along here. I'm going to do another one. Remember, if there's any point where you want to pause to catch up, you can. Feel free to pause the video whenever you need, or rewind. Anything that works for you. I know some people can't work as fast as I do, even when I'm teaching people. All right, we have 2 more holes that we need to go through. So I'm going to do 1, 2. I'm going to take my stitch marker out because I need to go into that hole now. And I'm going to do 1, 2, and there. All right, so if we did it correctly, we should be able to count through all of these and have 16. Because we did 2 in each of our 8 holes, so we should have 16, because 2 times 8 is 16. So if we count them, we're just going to count all these loops on the outside. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right, so we have our 16 holes. So we are good to go on to our next row. So I'm going to put my stitch marker in the one that I just did to show that that's the end of my row. And we are going to move on to row 3. So in this row, it's going to be similar to the row we just finished, except for we're going to do a single crochet and then an increase. So we're going to do 1 in the next hole, and the one after that, we're going to do 2. So we are only increasing in half of the holes that we go through. So there is 1 single. And now on my next one, I'm going to do 2 to increase. So if we do that 8 times, the single and the increase, we're going to add another 8 stitches onto our 16, and we should have 24 at the end. So that is 1 total round of it. So now we have to do it 7 more times. So I'm going to go through, we have a single crochet, and now we have an increase. Single crochet. Remember, an increase, you go in once, pull through both, and then you go into the same hole and do it again. Single crochet is just 1 time in that hole. Increase, you do it twice. And we're just going to keep going like this all the way around. So we have 1, and now I'm going to do an increase, 1, 2, do single and an increase, 1, 2, another single, and an increase, 1, 2, and we have one more, so I'm going to single, then I'm going to take my stitch marker out so that I can work in that stitch and do an increase there. So 1 and 2. So if we did it correctly, at the end of this row, we should have 24. Remember, you can count them, so we're going to count them. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. All right, so I must have missed one, so I know that I need to do one more. That's not a problem. So I'm going to do it one more time. So we have 1 and an increase. So now I have my 24 in the round. So I'm going to put my stitch marker back in that one that I just made. And it's okay to make mistakes. I still make mistakes, even though I've been crocheting for a while and I sell some of my products as well. It's okay, you can always work around it, and if not, you can always do what is called frogging it, where you take this and you pull it and it unravels to the point where you want it, and you can start back from that point. That's the beauty of crochet. You can always go back and fix things if you want to. You don't have to. It's okay to have mistakes in your work. I definitely still have mistakes in my work. And I definitely had a lot more mistakes when I was a beginner. It just takes practice and knowing where to put things and how to do things. And so yeah, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. But you'll still probably always make mistakes, and that's okay. So my next row is I'm going to single crochet in every single hole all the way around. So I will have 24 around. So that's going to be like we did before, just no increases, only 1 in each hole. And this is going to make it start to go down rather than out. It'll start making that curved shape going down, just like my other ghost. So I'm going to go all the way around. We know that we have 24 all the way around, so we don't have to count if we don't want to. We just know that our last stitch is going to go where our stitch marker is, and that will be our 24. So as long as we go in every single hole all the way around, we are good. Remember, try your best. Don't be hard on yourself. My first project definitely did not look like the picture that it went off of. So if it doesn't look quite right, don't beat yourself up. You'll get better with the more you work at it. Hopefully, with my videos, you can also get better. Just going around until we get back to this stitch marker. Again, for reference, you take your hook, poke it through the hole, make sure it goes through. You see those 2 loops on it. Pull through, yarn over, and pull through both loops on the hook. And that is a single crochet. We are going to get into a couple other types of stitches in this pattern, but they're not too hard. They're still pretty beginner friendly. You can always pause the video or rewind and rewatch whenever you need. All right, we have one more, so I'm going to take my stitch marker out. All right, and put it there. So now we have 1 row of single crochets done. We are going to do a total of 4 more. So we're going to have 5 total single crochet rows. So we already did 1, so we need 4 more. So at this point, if you want to pause the video, this would be a great point to pause, because I am going to stop my video. I'm going to crochet those next 4 rows so that the next thing you see will be those 4 rows done, and I'll show you what to do in the next part of the pattern. All right, so at this point you should have your rows done. So I did 4 more. So we are now going to be starting row 9. So you can count your rows. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So our next step is going to be doing the part with the little arms. So how we do that is these are called bobble stitches. So I'll show you when we get to that point. But to start off, we first need to get to where those are going to be, because this is the back of the ghost. And then so we want the arms to be, so the back of the ghost, we want the arms to be on the sides of it. So what we're going to do is we are going to crochet 5 single crochets. So I'm going to count them out. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now we're kind of at that halfway point, so where we can see that the arms should go there. So instead of going and doing a single crochet like we have been doing, instead we're going to do what's called a bobble stitch. So to do that, I'm going to wrap my yarn around, and instead of going through both of these loops here, we are going to just go through the front one. So what that looks like is I'm just going to take my hook and I'm going to loop around so there's only one. You can see that the other one is still in the back there. So I'm going to pull that through. So now I have 3 on my hook. I'm going to loop over and pull through just 2 of them. 1, 2. So now I should have 2 on my hook. I'm going to do that one more time. So I'm going to loop over. I'm going to go into my one that I already have one in. Loop over, pull through. So now I have 4 on my hook, and I'm only going to go through the first 2. I'm going to loop over, pull through 1, 2, and then I'm going to do that one more time. So I'm going to loop over, go through 4, go through, loop over, pull back through. Again, I'm only going to go through the first 2 on my hook, so I'm going to loop over, go through 1, 2. Now I have 4 on my hook, and what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to loop over and I'm going to pull through all 4 of them. So it's going to look like this. And I'm going to pull it tight. And now I'm going to go into my next and I'm going to single crochet just like normal. It has this little guy sticking out. So it's going to be a little arm. So now we are going to crochet across to the other side so we can do our other bobble stitch. So we're going to do a total of 11. So I just did 1, so I'm going to do 10 more. So count them off. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pull out some more yarn. 9, 10, and 11. So now you can see that we're kind of straight across where we're going to be starting. So again, I'm going to do another bobble stitch. I'll show you again how it goes. These are the only 2 bobble stitches we're going to do in the whole thing. The rest of them are pretty easy, mostly single crochets. So now what we're going to do is we're going to loop over. We're going to go through, remember, only the front loop. So remember there's 2 loops there. We're only going through the front one. Then we are going to yarn over again. Pull through, so now we have 3 on our hook. We yarn over and pull through the first 2. So now we have 2 on our hook. Yarn over, go back through that same loop I did before, just the front. I have 4 on my hook. Loop over, just pull through the first 2. So now I have 3, and we're going to do 1 more, so we have 4 total on our hook. So I'm going to loop over, poke it through, loop over, pull through. We have 5 on our hook, we're going to just go through the first 2, so loop over, and we're going to pull through those 2. So now I have 4 on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through all 4, pull it tight, and I'm going to single crochet in the next stitch. And that is my other bobble stitch to make his other little arm. And we're going to single crochet all the way back to here, which should be 6 more. So we have 1 that we just did, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so now he's looking like this. Now is the time where I put in my eyes, because if I wait too much longer, I'm not going to have much room to fit my fingers in and put them on. So what I did on this guy is I counted down to like the 6th row and I put them right underneath. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's going to be right in between that next row. So do the same thing with this guy. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to do it about 4 stitches apart. Whatever feels right to you. You can always shape it with its eyes differently if you want them farther apart. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to put them in the next one. It's in the same row. Alright, let's see, how's that looking? I think this eye is a little too far over. I think I'm going to switch it up just a bit. Move this over 1 more. And move this guy over 1 more. A little too far to the right on that guy. Or I guess his left. Look at it. Yeah. His left side. Alright, so now they look about even. Look about like this guy that I did before. Just going to be a little blue ghost. And then so I'm going to take my safety eye backings. And what I like to do is I put it flat on a flat surface. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to push it down. They do make tools. Sometimes bigger safety eyes are harder, but these guys aren't too hard. Alright, so now that those are snapped right in, they are not going to go anywhere. So now we can continue with our pattern. So eyes are in, arms are good. We are going to single crochet in each of the next stitches. I'm going to do this one with you guys just because the arm situations are a little tricky to go through, and then I will stop my video, get to the where we are going to continue the pattern, and you'll be able to follow along with me again. So we are going to crochet all the way around. I'll put my stitch marker back in. Crochet around. And when we get to that little arm guy where our bobble stitch is, remember we only did it in the front loop. So what we're going to do is we still have the back loop here. So you can see it right here, right between my fingers there. So I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to put it under that. I'm going to yarn over, pull through that, and that's where my single crochet stitch is going to be. And that kind of just makes sure that the stuffing isn't going to come out of that area. This little like bobble stitch is going to be on the outside. There's not going to be spaces for the stuffing to come out, and it just makes it look a little nicer. So I'm going to go to the next stitch. From here, we're just going to do our normal single crochets until we get to the other arm. our other bobble stitch. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll just go into the back loop that we left there from before and use that to go off of. So just a couple more to get there. All right. So we have our next stitch needs to go in our back loop only. Again, you can see it. You can see our bobble stitches here. So this little flat guy right here is where I'm going to be sticking my hook. Just like that. I'm going to pull through and go into the next one that we single crocheted in right after the bobble stitch. All right, and we're going to continue going all the way until we get to the stitch marker. And that'll be 24 in the round, single crochet all the way around, just like we did before the bobble stitches. And we are going to do that 4 more times, just like we did before the bobble stitches. So this was 1 row. We need a total of 5 single crocheted rows. So I am going to go ahead and stop my video here. You're going to crochet 4 more rows with just a single crochet in each one. So super easy. Going through each one. Remember, go through both loops, just like this. And go around all the way around, 24 stitches, 4 rows. Once you are there, you can join me back for the next part of the video. So go ahead and pause so that you can get caught up to where I'm going to be. Okay, so if you're with me, your project should look something like this. So I finished all of my single crochet rows. It's starting to look like a little ghosty. So now we're gonna be doing decreases and some stuff to make it smaller towards the end here. So first of all, we are going to work in the back loops only. So we worked in the front loops only for our bobble stitches. So let me show you what the back stitch only looks like. So the reason why we're doing this, we're doing our back stitches only to go all the way around so that we have these front stitches available to make this little like skirting or flowy part on the outside, kind of make it look like a flowing little ghost guy. So we're going to do just the back loops. So we're not doing the front, just going into the back. And I'm just going to single crochet all of these. So I'm going to single crochet all the way around, just using the back loops only. So there should be 24 of these. Going all the way around until we get back to our stitch marker. By the way, if you don't have a stitch marker, there's other tools that you can use. You can use your needle, you can just put it in and that can kind of hold the place. It's not super sharp because it's not a sewing needle, let's say a darning needle. So you can do that. You can put a strip of yarn of a different color in there. You can use a paper clip. You can use a safety pin. There's all kinds of different things, even that you will probably have around the house that you can use if you don't have stitch markers or if you don't want to get them. So just an FYI for that. I know as a beginner you might not have all of the tools that I told you, and a stitch marker is a pretty easy one to fix and solve for that. And I was zoning out, so I need to go back and make sure that I'm only doing my back loops. I distracted myself. All right, so I'm continuing in the back loops only. Going all the way around so that we have that extra space later to go back and add our little frills to make it look like a little ghost. So this is a pretty fun project. I kind of created it a couple years ago. I know I've seen other people do ghosts, but I haven't seen people quite do it like I do. If I ever do something that I got from someone else, I'll give credit to that person. So how I create patterns or I make patterns, I don't really write them down. I just kind of look at a crochet piece and I can pretty much figure out, based on the stuff that I know about crochet, how to create that piece. So oftentimes I don't buy patterns, I just figure it out in my brain. Or if I do find a pattern and I buy it, it's either because it's complicated or I think I can't do it. And sometimes I even end up kind of changing it while I'm going anyway because I figure out a better way of doing it. So it's just the way my mind works. I know a lot of people that is not the way their mind works. They need to have a pattern or need to have an exact way to do it. So that's why I went through last night and I made my ghost and I wrote down all of the steps on how to create it, just so that I have a set thing to go off of. Because normally my pieces all kind of look a little bit different because I don't have a set pattern that I follow. All right, so we got all the way to the end and we have our back loops are filled and our front loops are still there. So we will use those in a minute when we get to the end. So we'll finish it off and then we'll go back and crochet into those leftover loops. But like I was saying, I can pretty much crochet anything by looking at a picture of it. So if I do ever crochet something or show you guys how from a picture, I'll give credit to the original creator. And I'll try to make sure that it's not a paid pattern because that would be taking away from that creator. But I can definitely go through free patterns with you guys as well, show you guys how to complete them. So our next step, we are going to go ahead and we're going to do what's called an invisible decrease. So increase, you put 2 in one hole to make it bigger. A decrease, you take 2 holes and turn it into 1 hole to make it smaller. So to start off though, we are going to do a single crochet and we're going to go through both loops this time, so you don't have to worry about front loops or back loops, except for with our decrease. So we're going to do an invisible decrease. So this is something that's going to make your work look a lot better than if you did a normal decrease. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just the front loops of the next 2 stitches. So I'm going to take the front loop, loop around, take the next front loop. So now I have those both on my hook. I'm going to loop over, pull through both of those, and then I'm going to loop over, pull through the 2 that were on my hook. So now I've turned those 2 into 1 stitch, making it decrease in count. So we're going to do that, a single crochet and a decrease. We're going to do that 8 times all the way around to get back down to 16 stitches. All right, so next one, so you see how this one's connected here. We want to make sure that we go into the next not worked into piece. So we're going to single crochet and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take the front loops only. So we're going to take 1 and 2. I'm going to crochet through both to make it a single crochet now and yarn over, pull through both. So now we have done 2 of our 8. Moving on to the next one, single crochet. Again, we're going to take our front loops only for our next 2 stitches and we're going to turn them into 1 stitch and finish that one off. All right, so now we've done it 3 times. We have 1. We're going to do our front loops only. Take 2 of them, pull it through. Now we have 2. So you can see we're kind of like at that halfway point. So we just got to do it 4 more times. Do it all the way around. So we have our single crochet. Take our 2 front loops, turn them into 1, and pull through them to make the stitch. Another single crochet, pull through both loops, make the 2 loops into 1, and pull through both. again. Going through. And we have one more that we are going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take this guy out. So I'm going to go in, single crochet. We're going to decrease in the next one. So now we are all the way back. At this point, our hole is getting a bit small, so I'm going to go ahead and start stuffing it with my stuffing. So with this, I'm going to take small chunks of it. I'm going to get this hook out of the way. I'm going to take small chunks and slowly start packing it in. You don't want to do too much at a time because it can get a little bit too much. And it is going to take a lot more stuffing than you might think. I'm just going to keep stuffing. And I like to kind of take my fingers, go through the middle and push to the outsides so that I can stuff more from the inside and push it out. It makes for a lot firmer of a stuffing. And again, it's going to take a lot more stuffing than you might think. I've already put in probably about this much for this little tiny guy. And it's still not done yet. So I'm going to stuff just a little bit more in. I think we're getting to the point where he is going to be good. Pretty full. Squeezing it and it's starting to kind of come out the bottom there. All right, now we are going to move on to our next row, and this is going to be our final row of crochet. So in this one we are going to decrease 8 times to go from 16 around to 8 around. So we're going to take it and we're going to do our invisible decreases all the way around. So we have 1, 2, go through. We are going to do that all the way around. So we get back to the beginning. Do 8 times, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put my yarn. Put 2 more times, so that's 7. And then 1 more time. That's 8. So you notice we still have a bit of a hole here, but how we're going to fix that is I'm going to take some of my yarn and cut probably about 7 or 8 inches. Give myself enough room to work with. And with the yarn, you can just take your hook and pull it, and just pull it and it secures itself like that. So now what we're going to do is take our yarn needle and we are going to sew it on up. So put your yarn through and you are just going to take the top or the front loops of each of them. So you're just going to go through one loop, going all the way around, just kind of through. We'll go all the way to the end. When we get to the end, here we can start to cinch it off. I'm going to do one more. You just pull it just like we pulled the magic ring at the beginning. Now we're just going to sew it in. So I usually go through the middle here, and I'll go up a little bit, maybe towards the arm. I'll pull it through, make sure that's pulled all the way through. We want a flat bottom so that it's easy for it to stand on. And then I'm going to pull through again, just kind of taking it into another direction because we don't want it to unravel. Pull it so that it's And we don't want to pull it too tight or it can misshape the form. And then that's probably good. So I'm going to take the rest of my yarn. You can either cut it, or what I like to do so I don't have the random yarn scraps everywhere is I just take my needle and I take the back of it and I just kind of shove it back in. Kind of stuffs it a little bit more. And then I don't have to deal with the yarn. And the more you can in the end, you can always sew more. You can go back through it a couple more times if you want. Depends on how long your yarn is, how much you have left, whatever you decide. So I'm just gonna stuff it all the way in there. And you can't see where it came out. Now we have a little like marshmallowy with arms. So now we're gonna go back to where I showed you we left our front loops. We're going to take our hook and we're going to crochet again. So we're going to need our crochet. We're going to be done with a stitch marker because we're just going to go back. We're going to start here and we're going to go all the way back and then we'll tie it off. So I'm going to put my hook in this right here. So I'm just going to put it through. Pretty easy. It's going to go all the way around. We're just going to single crochet. So I'm going to take my yarn. I'm just going to pull it through, hold it, and then just yarn over, pull through. And then I'm just going to go and do that in every single of these. Just going to crochet one in each of these front loops that we left for ourselves. It's going to give this little like effect like it has that little aura around it, or a little skirt around the bottom. It's kind of flailing about a little bit, just like some ghosts are portrayed. Like I said, other people have done ghosts and stuff, but I haven't really seen many, if any, that kind of have like this at the bottom. So that's why I wanted to show you guys how I do my ghost. It's just a little different. Everyone does things a little bit different. And that's what makes our world unique and creative and cool. If everyone did the same thing, it would not be as fun of a world. Alright, so we're just going to keep going all the way around. So we get back to the start. As you can see, you're just putting it into those holes. You're just doing your normal single crochet. So the only weird crochet stitches that we had were the bobble stitch and then the back loop only. Other than that, everything else was just single crochet, decrease or increase, which you're going to see in any pattern that you are making any sort of stuffy or amigurumi, as they're called. The art of making amigurumi is making like 3D things out of yarn. So I'll just finish off. I have one more over here that I need to go through. All right, now I'm going to take my scissors. I'm going to cut my yarn, so I just have a little bit. Doesn't have to be too much, just enough that you'll be able to tie it to the other one. So now I have my two ends. I'm just going to tie it and do a double knot, which just works together. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to just push the ends back inside so that it's not going to really unravel or anything. I don't have to worry about the strands everywhere. Just pushing it back in so we don't have to worry about it. Alright, and then with the other side, same thing. We're just taking it, shoving it back inside there. Alright, so now you can't even tell where it was. And now you have a little ghost. So I used the same pattern for the white ghost as I did for the blue ghost. The only difference in why they're different sizes is because of the size of yarn I used. So this yarn is much thinner. I also used a much thinner hook. So I used a thicker hook and a thicker yarn for the white ghost. So I hope you enjoyed this little crochet session. If you like this video, show me that you like it by liking the video. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section. If you have any suggestions, you can also leave those in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe and, look out for those notifications of when I put out new videos. I'm going to try to put them out at least once a week, if not more, if possible. So yeah, little ghosties, hope you guys have a happy Halloween. See you next time.